second half. Kind of dictated a little bit more of our flow, but I thought we did a great job of still navigating the matchups that we wanted.
Nobody believed Caitlin Clark could actually survive the kind of defensive masterclass specifically engineered to embarrass her on national television. But professional basketball has always been the arena where true greatness is revealed through fire, pressure, and adversity, and from the moment she entered the WNBA, she carried far more than just expectations. She arrived with record-shattering ratings, a massive fan following, historic attention, and a target on her back unlike anything the league had ever seen, instantly becoming the player every veteran wanted to challenge and every opposing coach wanted to solve. For months, analysts, former players, and critics loudly insisted that her college dominance was inflated, claiming her deep shooting, flashy passing, and fast-paced defensive brilliance would quickly collapse against stronger, more experienced professional defenders. Every game became a referendum on whether she belonged, and every missed shot was amplified as proof that the hype had gone too far. Behind the scenes, the pressure surrounding her only intensified as opposing teams reportedly spent endless hours breaking down film, searching for any weakness they could exploit, determined to be the first team to expose her limitations. Then came the matchup everyone had circled, a game against a defensive system designed with surgical precision to shut her down completely. The opposing coaching staff crafted a suffocating plan built around trapping her on every screen, denying her space before she could even set her feet, crowding passing lanes, and forcing her into rushed decisions designed to disrupt the rhythm that had made her one of basketball's most electrifying offensive players. From the opening tip, the defense swarmed her relentlessly, bumping her off her spots, contesting every dribble, collapsing instantly whenever she touched the ball, and transforming every possession into a physical, exhausting war. The first half looked exactly like her harshest critics had predicted as turnovers mounted, rush shots missed their mark, offensive possession stalled, and the Fever appeared completely overwhelmed by the intensity of the pressure. Cameras focused relentlessly on Clark's expressions, waiting for visible frustration, while social media erupted with critics celebrating what they believed was the final unraveling of the rookie sensation. Analysts rushed to declare that the blueprint had been found, convinced the league had finally cracked the code to stop her. The opposing bench looked calm and confident, exchanging knowing smiles as if months of preparation had finally paid off. But what every doubter failed to understand was that Clark has never been defined by comfort. She has built her entire basketball identity on thriving under scrutiny, feeding off disrespect, and using moments of doubt as fuel. The same pressure meant to break her instead awakened the competitive fire that has defined every stage of her rise, and as the game unfolded, the very defensive trap designed to expose her became another proving ground where she demonstrated the resilience, intelligence, and mental toughness that separate great players from generational ones. Every possession became a battle of adjustments, every setback a lesson processed in real time, and every challenge another opportunity for her to remind the basketball world that attempts to count her out only make her stronger. In a league determined to test her limits at every turn, Clark continues to prove that greatness is not measured by how easily success comes, but by how powerfully a player responds when the entire world expects them to fail. What looked like undeniable proof that Caitlin Clark had finally been exposed quickly transformed into one of the most dramatic momentum shifts of the season, because history has shown that generational talents can only be contained for so long before they completely shatter every expectation stacked against them. As the first half ended with the Indiana Fever struggling under a suffocating defensive scheme, critics across social media were already celebrating, convinced the rookie wall had finally arrived and that the relentless pressure of professional basketball had broken the phenom once and for all. Cameras captured the visible frustration, the stalled offensive possessions, the swarming traps, and the mistakes that seemed to validate months of criticism claiming Clark's college brilliance could never survive against elite professional defenses. The atmosphere heading into halftime was tense and heavy, with the weight of national expectations pressing down harder than ever, but what happened next completely rewrote the narrative. Whatever was said inside that locker room sparked a transformation that changed everything. Clark emerged for the second half with an entirely different level of focus, calm, and precision, as if every ounce of pressure had been converted into fuel. The defensive traps that had suffocated her in the first half suddenly became opportunities rather than obstacles. On the very first possession of the third quarter, as defenders aggressively closed in expecting hesitation, she calmly rose from well beyond the arc and buried a deep three that instantly shifted the energy inside the arena. It was more than just a shot. It was a declaration that the game had changed. From that moment forward, the entire pace of the contest flipped. Clark began dissecting the defense with surgical precision, threading impossible passes through collapsing lanes, exploiting the smallest defensive gaps, and forcing a previously dominant scheme to unravel possession by possession. If defenders pressed too high, she attacked the paint and kicked to open teammates. If they sagged back even slightly, she punished them with fearless long-range daggers that silenced the opposition and electrified the crowd. The brilliance of the opposing defensive preparation, so effective in the opening half, suddenly looked powerless against her ability to adapt in real time. Coaches scrambled for answers, defenders threw their arms up in frustration, and every adjustment only seemed to create new opportunities for her to attack. The arena's energy became deafening as the fever stormed back, turning what had felt like an inevitable collapse into a stunning display of offensive mastery. More importantly, the psychological shift on the opposing sideline became impossible to ignore as confidence gave way to disbelief and control dissolved into chaos. By the final buzzer, Clark had not only engineered a comeback victory, but delivered a message to the entire league that no amount of preparation, defensive brilliance, or physical pressure could permanently contain her. The same critics who had spent the first half mocking her struggles were suddenly forced to confront the reality that they had witnessed something far more significant than a single comeback. They had seen the unmistakable proof of elite adaptability, mental resilience, and competitive greatness. That performance did not simply erase the rookie doubts surrounding her. It shattered them completely and established Clark as a player capable of adjusting to any challenge thrown her way. It was the kind of defining moment that changes perception forever, proving that when the lights are brightest and the pressure is greatest, Clark does not shrink under expectation but rises to redefine what is possible, leaving the rest of the league with a terrifying realization that this was only the beginning of what she is capable of becoming.